And we're live. Welcome back to the Saving Democracy live stream. I'm Etienne Lebel, and our goal is to strengthen democracy through various means: long-form analysis, civil discourse, watchdog investigative journalism, and maybe some music, maybe some art, maybe some social events, maybe some social movements. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you had a great Halloween. Happy Halloween to all the Halloweeners. And yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, as you can see from the topics to be covered. Most important one probably being this social musical pivot. I'm kind of calling it a pivot. Last week we reviewed some really dark stuff and made some other well, we're on to some even darker conclusions, and it was almost too much even for me to handle. So and as the title of this stream is The Desperate Need for Pro-Democracy Social Movements. And I really think this is our best hope. Social movement, which means organic social movement where people just through word of mouth, through their own connections, social circles, are just talking about these things and getting acquainted with a more accurate picture of reality. So turn off CBC, turn off all the government-sponsored propaganda, start talking to your neighbors, and it's a process of social healing. Right, where's that list? Social movement, social conversations, social healing, and then social events. So the government's been trying to divide us as hard as they can, and you know they've been pretty ingenious. And I would call those very dark achievements to have divided us in unprecedented ways. But we now need to social heal and social closen. So as a quick example, and then we'll get to some music. The government was spreading misinformation, not just about the virus, but about the COVID vaccines, to the point where they were telling people not to invite their unvaccinated friends and family to Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I knew at the time that it was most likely wrong, and I did my best to tell people this was unprincipled, unjustified, and now it's a lot more certain, with even Pfizer representatives admitting that the COVID vaccine clinical trials never tested for transmission, right? So this is a message to everyone. Again, let's reconnect. If you did, like myself, and so if you're listening, or if you hear about this eventually, you know, reach out to the people you excluded unfairly due to the government propaganda, and let's just make amends, hug it out, and let's reconnect. Okay? So you didn't invite me to Thanksgiving dinner or some family event because we're not COVID vaccinated. Well, you know, we missed you, and that really hurt, and we just need to move on. And you know, music will help us. Music will help us. Well, maybe I should play a song. And then I'll put away the guitar, and then we can get back to this boring stuff. And I guess the other boring stuff is The Emergency Act Inquiry finally is starting to interview or examine witnesses from the Freedom Convoy organizers. But again, it's like beating a dead horse, flogging a dead horse. And if anything, it's just infuriating, and so yeah, we could play over that, but I have another layout. I wanted to do some live captioning, but somehow the caption is not working. So we're gonna switch over to a new scene. Let's see. There you go. Oh, and then we need the lyrics. Okay. So I can play freedom-related or democracy-related songs, and you can sing along. So we can maybe just play parts of it, and let me know if the audio. Why is this going up and up and up? Let me know if the audio is okay. It looks okay from my end. I did do a recording test and it sounds fine, but again, things go wrong very quickly. Okay. I Want to Break Free by Queen. Oh, come on. Scroll. Oh man. I want to break free from this crappy software. Jambox is coming, but it's on delay. I want to break free. I want to break free. I want to break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied. I don't need you. I've got to break free. God knows I want to break free. I've fallen in love. I've fallen in love for the first time. This time I know it's for real. Falling in love. Yeah, God knows I'm falling in love. It's alright, but it's true. I can't get over the way you love me like you do, but I have to be sure I walk out that door. Oh, how I want to be free, baby. Oh, how I want to be free, baby. How I want to be free. So, but life still goes on. I can't get used to living without you by my side. I don't wanna live alone. Hey, God knows, got to make it on my own. Oh baby, get you see, I've got to break free. I've got to break free. Want to break free from this terror. tyrannical government. Well, that was not too bad. I forgot to turn on the scene switcher. Let's see. Okay, then the idea is I go to my playlist and we can go to the next song. And if Ultimate Guitar wasn't so incompetent, I could just go next. Go play the next song in the playlist. How about that? Come on, Russians. You can do better. I still believe in you. Hate the Russian government, not the Russian people. But in this case, this is a Russian company full of Russians and non-Russians. So just get on the ball. Come on. Come on. Eye in the sky. So the idea here, yeah, go to a new song and press auto scroll. Oh, the lyrics. Tuna setting not running. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. Why does it go back? Sorry. Ay, ay, ay. Oh my. Why is it all gone? Anyways, sorry about this. This is somehow ultimate. There it is. Okay. More technical problems. Excuse me. I can see, welcome in the room, the few people that are here. Thank you for joining. Hopefully you will find some value, some social energy, some social hearing, social healing. What you need to hear before you heal, maybe, right? Let me know if you have any other songs you want to hear. Yeah, I can see some nice spam in the chat. That's great. Keep it coming. Little spammers, little bots, Chinese bots, Russian bots. Okay, hot photos of my sister. Yeah, that'd be great. Jesus Christ. Okay. And this is the third camera angle over here. You can say hi. Excuse me. From a webcam from the 2000s, found in the garbage. Say hi. Okay. If I can just start the song. It's harder than it looks, by the way. And but we'll figure it out. Don't think sorry's easily said. Don't try turning tables instead. Taking lots of chances before, but I ain't gonna give any more. Don't ask me, that's how it goes. Cause part of me knows what you're thinking. Don't say words you're gonna regret. Don't let the fire rush in your head. I've heard these accusations before, and I ain't gonna take any more. Believe me, the sun in your eye, some of the lies worth believing. I am the eye in the sky, looking at you. I am the eye in the sky, looking at you. I can read your mind. That's right. I am the maker of rules, dealing with fools. I can cheat you blind. That's also right. And I don't need to see anymore to know that I can read your mind. I can read your emails. I can read your text messages. I can read your mail. Don't leave false illusion behind. Don't cry, 'cause I ain't changing my mind. That's too fast. So find another fool like before. Next time I'll test them, 'cause I ain't gonna live anymore believing some of the lies while all of the signs are deceiving. I am the eye in the sky, looking at you. I can read your mind. I am the maker of rules, dealing with fools. I can cheat you blind. That's right. And I don't need to see anymore to know that I can read your mind. I can read your mail. I can read your text. I can read your email. Yeah, next time I'll adjust the auto scroll beforehand, because that was annoying. Okay, I think that's a good start. That's a very good start. We'll go back to here, and then go over here, and and I'll put this away for now. Maybe I should just keep playing. Okay, so social movements, social healing is for real. It's a serious situation. And what else can you do? Let's listen here while we're at it. Ay, 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 where's my mouse?
That refers to at the top. Can we pull that one up, please?
Okay, so this is...
Again, this is February 8th, and there's an image of the COVID-19, the Great Reset, is from the World Economic Forum. Deputy Prime Minister Freeland is on the board of trustees of the WEF. Again, had you heard of the Great Reset before?
Via social media posts, more so in the last 6 months. I don't recall seeing that or even hearing about it at the time.
And what is the nature of your understanding of this book, The Great Reset?
I have never read it.
Okay. If you'll scroll to the bottom of this, there's a reference, a section that deals with if you go to the next page, refusing to provide heavy tow truck services. Refusing service. You see that section?
Yes.
According to Ottawa City Manager Steve Kanalakos, who testified earlier about the difficulty of obtaining tow trucks to the Commission.
Okay, so this is Andrew
all tow
Gibbs
truck companies under contract to the City of
from the
Ottawa
government of Canada
to provide heavy tow truck services.
over here
This has been, sorry,
examining
this has been a common occurrence
Chris Barber
right across Canada as tow truck
from the Freedom
operators
Convoy.
are considering their long-term relationships with the trucking industry as well as the Canadian public. Is that consistent with your understanding?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you. If we now turn to February 16th at HRF 60's 852. And this is the last, or second to last daily update I'll bring you to. This one begins with a photograph of Prime Minister Trudeau with World Economic Forum leader Klaus Schwab. You see that?
Yes.
And underneath there's a description of a video of Klaus Schwab describing Trudeau's loyalty to the World Economic Forum. A video has emerged, World Economic Forum leader Klaus Schwab describing Trudeau's loyalty to this globalist organization. The video appears to have been taken in 2016, just after Trudeau became the Prime Minister. Do you see that?
Yes.
And if we scroll to the bottom, there's a Twitter link there with the number
so
one
boring.
waffler. If we scroll to the bottom, it ends with a photo of Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland.
Yes.
Do you see that photo?
I do, yes.
And the caption reads, Finance Minister Freeland, seen here at a World Economic Forum event, says the government can arbitrarily seize bank accounts, crowdfunding, money, and cryptocurrencies. Now, this is issued on February 16th, this newsletter, to your group, the faction of Freedom Convoy 2022, correct?
Yes.
Now, on February 17th,
Yeah, it's unclear. Where is this going? This
another
line of
post
reasoning
is issued,
or line of questioning.
HRF 6083, which is a special notice issued by the group.
Just to note, you're out of time.
Out
but
of
did you know
time.
if you'll be much longer?
I need about 5 minutes on these 2 points, sir, and they'll tie the two together.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
make it
If I
tight.
may have your
please.
indulgence. You have the post, and this is a Freedom Convoy 2022 reaffirms its commitment to
Starting to
peaceful
wonder who is on
demonstration.
trial here, the convoy or the government?
Yes.
And in this notice, you'll see that it
Because that was the other dark
expressly condemns, if we scroll down,
realization from last week. It wasn't just my
Pat King does not
my infographic that was too compelling, maybe,
any talk of violence from him
not to be insufficiently humble, but
that
this
accurately reflects your
this chart,
I had nothing.
when you look at it in terms of 17 authoritarian flavor developments in relation to our most basic, the 6 most basic fundamental freedoms that make life worth living, combined with the realization that the Emergencies Act public inquiry seems to be geared more towards establishing that the government needs a centralized command center for policing, centralized policing command, which would make things worse rather than better, led me to think, is there really even a hope that doing this kinds of things would have any real change? And then starting to look into the controlled opposition evidence, which we'll get to, hopefully.
And again, you had said earlier, your testimony here today is that you had no
And, and we have a new chart, well, a draft, a very crappy draft, which I didn't scan. Is the piano working?
So have you seen this email before?
I have not.
It's sent on Wednesday, February 16th at 1:23 p.m. to Chrystia Freeland.
Imagine all the people. Imagine the government wasn't corrupt. Do 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 do. Imagine there's no hunger. Do 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 do.
signed, Larry Jenkins. I assume you would reject this statement and any such action.
Unequivocally, yes.
Thank you. And the last question then is, were you aware, sir, that on February 16th, the same day,
Wait, what was it?
OPP apprehended someone, be placed into protect Friday in Wrath.
Larry Jensen. So, who is Larry Jensen?
Yours, I declare to on when protest today is that you had no control over the people who had come to the protest in response to your open invitation.
Correct.
And so have you seen this email before?
I have not, no.
It's sent on Wednesday, February 16th.
Okay, this is a random email. There's gonna be wackos everywhere. This is exactly consistent with the chart I just created. Yeah, which we'll get into. Is that, you know, there's pro-government people, compliant, asleep people. Then there's the opposition, and we'll get to it. God damn it.
To Chrystia Freeland, MP, and it reads, I declare war on all the Canadian government for lying about COVID-19. Chrystia Freeland will get a bullet to the head. Prepare to feel our wrath. Yours truly, the Canadian
Like, this is irrelevant, as they're pointing out in the comments.
COVID government resistance.
I mean, it's not
We will
irrelevant,
visit
but
you
it's...
at your home this Friday at
He doesn't
6
know about
p.m.
this person.
So you better be hidden and be placed into protection because we know where you live. And signed, Larry Jenkins. I assume you would reject this statement and any such action.
Unequivocally, yes.
Thank you. And the last question then is, were you aware, sir, that on February 16th, the same day,
So who is Larry Jensen?
the OPP apprehended someone in Ottawa who was wearing body armor and carrying a large knife, along with other knives, a sword, and machetes that were seized out of his truck.
I was not aware of that, no.
Okay, I will take you to OPS 3011837.
Mr. Commissioner, I understand my friend's out of time, and this witness has testified several times he has no knowledge of these things, so I'm wondering what the purpose of this is other than grandstanding.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is hugely helpful in the sense that he can't comment on any of these, but maybe you can just file it for the moment and try it on someone else when you have some time.
Thank you, sir. So the last question then is, would you agree with me that when you start a fire and fan the flames, it can get out of control, and you had no control over those other factions who had come?
That's always true.
Protest.
That's where I spent a lot of time on the ground. I spent a lot of time working with people that were with the original convoy from the West, and with people that were not with the West. If somebody had a concern, I said it on more than one occasion on my videos. If anybody has a problem, if anybody wants to yell at somebody, find my number and phone me and yell at me. I will gladly take it. The last thing I ever wanted was a letter like that. I've heard that story up until now.
Understood. And I believe, sir, that you'd also confirmed that.
And is it a real story?
You were not always successful in your efforts to convince the participants to agree with you or to follow you.
And I've never heard of this
Thank
person,
you.
never.
Those are my
So
Okay, so that takes us, I think, to the morning break. So we'll take a little time to
Oh my
continue.
God.
First, let's take a moment to applaud Chris. Okay.
he might
Wow. I didn't really know him on that kind of level. I
Good
didn't spend that much time
preview.
listening to him and listening to him talk. He's a really, really good person. Wow. What's the government doing at the end there? Brendan, thank you for standing up and calling him out. Grandstanding is exactly what they were doing there. An inquiry must have some more lax rules around evidence, because you can't throw basically everything the government did in that particular questioning. You can't do any of that. You can't put evidence in front of a witness who didn't create it or has no knowledge of it.
So why did the judge
All the
not,
lawyers listening know that's 100% true.
why
You
did
have to authenticate the document. You can't even prove the document's real without the original author. So, there's
so
a
how come the
document there,
judge
they didn't even know
didn't
who made it.
object?
You can't put that in. So clearly, this is not following the rules of evidence, because those completely violated. So I guess the question here is kind of what evidence are we going to be getting and expecting? It seems a mismatch of everything. Just so my chat knows, I have been looking for the documents, the videos, the documents, even that email that we just saw. It's not currently in the database.
Huh.
So we'll have to wait and keep looking for those. It's not currently in the database. There's a whole whack of stuff. Basically all the OPP and OPS stuff that we were following was available. These were not, including the video of Chris. So maybe they'll be uploaded later. But wow, that was incredible. I'm very pleased and proud to be a Canadian right now, listening to Chris. I'm embarrassed and ashamed to be a Canadian citizen when I hear my government talk that way. That's incredible. And yeah, I did get another strike, but I did an appeal. We'll see what happens with that. Sorry for the chat. There's way too much here for me to keep up on, so not all messages are going to be making it up anymore. So.
All right. So, here's a comment. Let's go read it. Okay, wow. Good evening. I don't know if the question's been asked and answered for, or never, I'm sorry in that case, but what happened to Curious Science? Thanks. Well, Curious Science is still in the background. So this is a previous collaborator from, now I forget if it's Romania or somewhere across the pond. And so to answer this, that is a fine question. I'm using the same YouTube channel, and so some of my followers might be confused about the pivot, but the short answer is that Curate Science, whose goal is to strengthen science, and I had a podcast before called The Saving Science Show, is put on hold because of the realization that Canadian democracy is seriously threatened, potentially injured with life-threatening injuries, as we reviewed in this chart. And so I decided that this was a higher priority fire to tackle, right? Because if we don't even have Western democracy and our civil liberties, then science is irrelevant, right? And that was the big breakthrough of the Enlightenment period, is that under the Enlightenment values of logic, reason, individual liberty, due process, we have the liberty to use our logic and reason to come up with our own conclusions and our own understanding of the world, rather than just trusting the government or trusting the king or trusting the feudal lord, right? I mean, that's the whole point. And this is what we're losing. We're literally violating Enlightenment principles from 1500, like 500 years ago. We had these big breakthroughs which gave the power to the individual over the group or over the government, whatever. The individual is sovereign. The individual has sovereignty and power to determine their own life, their own path. And together we can join forces and form responsible, accountable governments. But the focus needs to remain on the individual, whereas now, of course, this radical woke ideology is trying to flip things around and say, no, the group is more important than the individual, and groups need to be equal, and some groups are marginalized, and some groups need special preferential treatment. But thanks for the question, and that's don't hesitate to if you have any follow-ups. But again, a real democracy is based on science, and we can use scientific facts to inform public policy. And now we know, or through my 10 years of Science Watchdog, Science Romania, there it is, science whistleblowing, I realized that, and through all these other open science movement folks, that the global academic science system is fatally flawed at all levels: researchers, journals, universities, funding agencies, and publishers. And it was always a big mystery as to why even the open science folks were not that motivated to make mandatory transparency standards, mandatory ethics disclosures, like real change. So they were only interested, well, let's improve transparency, let's increase transparency a little bit, but let's not rock the boat too much. Whereas in fact we have the technology, and we did the world's first transparency audits. It's definitely feasible, practical, and it would strengthen democracies all over the world. But now we know that the powers that be actually have a vested interest in having broken science, because then they can leverage and weaponize broken science to serve their agendas, which are just corporate greed, more profits, more control, and so on, right? So, but we will get back to it. If we can strengthen democracy, then, and save democracy, well, then we will go back to strengthening science, because they go hand in hand. And science is supposed to be one of the main key pillars, public institutions underlying a democracy. Okay, so thanks again for the question. We're going to go back to our topics for today, which is, again, controlled opposition evidence and a new chart. So to finish, and this links to what we just saw in the public inquiry of the Emergencies Act, is that the government lawyers are really trying hard to find a few crazies and to link them to the Freedom Convoy, to tarnish the entire freedom movement, right? And look, it's almost like I knew they were going to cover that. So I don't know, you probably can't see very well. Oh, I could. No, I'm not going to do that. Anyways, it's just two groups. On this side, you have pro-government or just compliant people, half asleep, half brainwashed, doesn't matter. And then the other half are people who are opposing these new restrictions and authoritarian developments. And most of those people are just normal people like me and you. But of course, in any group, there's going to be extreme. So there's maybe like 1% of extreme people and or people that seem wacko. And those are the ones that the government amplifies. So they say, oh, look at these people, these conspiracy 5G flat earthers over here who also care about freedom. Let's elevate and amplify their message so that they tarnish the rest of the group, right? And then they can divide and conquer, right? And this is exactly what they did. And so controlled opposition is really not the best word, right? Because it's not to say that these people are controlled in the sense that the government or government agents are telling them what to say, right? It's more that they already exist and the government is looking around, sniffing around and saying, oh, so here are all the people who care about freedom. But these people over here, they're a little bit wacko, right? Like Randy Hillier, who's this kind of unhinged redneck hillbilly, right? And so then they decide, well, let's just amplify this person's platform and message, because then it'll convince the compliant asleep people that indeed the freedom people are unreasonable, right? And we'll improve the diagram, but let me know if that makes sense. And so actually we should use the term manipulated opposition, right? Because again, they're not creating these people. I mean, they could be, but I have no evidence of that. It's just they find pre-existing people, right? Like Chris Sky. That's an even better example, right? So Chris Sky, he claims to be some human rights activist. You know, but look at his and you know, we don't want to judge people on their looks, but like he's still a pretty right, and his wife with, you know, the fake boobs and all the tattoos and the neck, and so he's articulate, right? And but again, what is his ties? He's tied to his dad is a wealthy land developer in Toronto, from the elite class. So you have to wonder, how independent is he from the entity that he's criticizing? And what are some other problems? There's allegations that he's a grifter. He's selling stuff. He's selling cannabis products and crypto this, crypto that. And there's nothing wrong with making a bit of money. But again, what are, right, like, why is his message seems to be amplified so much compared to all these other reasonable people? And we'll get through to more specific evidence with his association with Kellyanne Wolf, for example, you know, who is just a wacko in other ways in terms of claiming she has an IQ of, what is it, 175, you know, going on the 195. And this is caught on video. Yeah, that's probably not worth watching. But again, prove me wrong. I really want to be wrong about these things, but again, given they came out pretty early, that was the other thing that was suspicious. So March 2020, 2 weeks flat on the curve. By April, May, these people were aggressively organizing protests in Toronto, and they seem a bit overconfident, right? Again, like, I was against the COVID measures from the beginning, but I wasn't that confident that I would go out and start organizing protests, right? So I was immediately suspicious. And then there's this famous video. We should actually show that one. Chris Sky predictions. Where his predictions, yeah, here you go. September 2020.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
You don't need a mask. A mask is about compliance, because they know Canadians like to do what they're told. So if they tell you have to wear a mask, next they're going to tell you have to contact trace. Then they're going to tell you have to take the vaccine. And because Canadians like to do what they're told, they're hoping that everyone just complies. And then guess what, kids? Once you take your vaccine, like a dumb person that doesn't know any better, they're going to tell you, sorry, the vaccine isn't as effective as we thought it was going to be. So now you still got to wear your mask, still got to get contact trace, still have all the restrictions and social distancing, and still take your vaccine.
So look at that. This is September 2020. And a lot of people don't remember, because it's a time warp and it's all cloudy from being tortured by these lockdowns and all these other crazy restrictions. But they didn't even have a vaccine approved, or not even close. Well, it was approved in December, and they only started rolling it out in late December, early January 2021. So again, and again, being a scientist and knowing when you make predictions, it's extremely hard to get specific predictions correct. And he was right on everything. And he was very specific, and he was correct on everything about how this is about control and obedience. And even once you take the vaccine, they're still going to try to restrict you, which was exactly true, right? And you know, he's a smart guy, but where is he getting this inside information, right? And prove me wrong. And so, yeah, the real investigative journalism, and if we had more time and resources, you'd want to deploy some people to dig into these people, these freedom people who just seem suspicious or seem a bit too good to be true, and they come out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden they're super famous. Because keep in mind, like, everybody's trying to get attention and trying to grow their audience. So whenever someone comes out of nowhere, you have to ask questions. And if we had more resources, we would look into all of these people, like Chris Sky, Pat King, Kellyanne Wolf, Rocco Galati, who's a lawyer with a lot of suspicious, shady businesses, Maxime Bernier, Pierre Poilievre, Alberta Independence Party, and now Daniel Smith, the new Alberta Premier. Rebel News, actually, itself is kind of suspect in many ways because they're violating basic journalistic principles. They seem to sensationalize and hype things up. And even their motto is telling the other side of the story. But, which is good, we need people to tell the other side of the story. But remember, journalistic principles, as a journalist, as a news organization, you're supposed to tell all sides of the story, not just the other side. Oh dear. So, but yeah, it's so that's the short version. As a recap, controlled opposition is better understood, or a better name for controlled opposition, it would be manipulated opposition, where again the government realizes they're not going to be able to convince everyone. I mean, some people are just more gullible, right? And so they realize there's going to be opposition, and the best way to control the opposition is to lead it. And we all know who said that. I'm not a history buff, but here you go. Vladimir Lenin, our socialist Soviet Union friend. The best way to control the opposition is to lead it ourselves. Though even here, lead it, I'm not actually saying that the government created Chris Sky, though that is possible. I'm saying they're just monitoring the different people that are anti-government, that are part of the opposition movement. And then they're identifying, well, this guy looks a bit crazy, wacko, so let's amplify his platform. And this person, wacky platform, like Pat King, who's like a quasi-white nationalist, let's amplify these people to tarnish the rest of the opposition people who are just more plain and boring. Well, not boring, but just more like normal people that the compliant people could relate to, right? Because if the compliant people start doubting the government, and then they get exposed to all these reasonable people, like I like to think of myself as a very reasonable, freedom-oriented person. I'm very careful with my thoughts, my beliefs, my evidence, right? If people were exposed to people like me, they'd be more likely to come to our side, or at least, be more balanced. So they not only try to censor people like me by demoting, and I've had strikes on my channel and probably will be banned eventually. So you suppress the real opposition who don't look crazy, and then you amplify the freedom people who are crazy. And that's just generally the best way to control opposition so that the government can achieve their agenda, whatever it is. And again, it could just be pure greed, corporate greed, but in this case, I think it's justified to go beyond greed and conjecture or propose that please ask me anything in Twitch. Got 2 viewers on Twitch. Say hi. Say hi. And feel welcomed. So that's my 2 cents. Maybe I should play a few songs. And we'll see if we get some more questions. So now we got more spam. And again, it's not, I don't know where it's coming from. It's not on YouTube. I don't know where it's coming from. Where is it? Oh, live chat. Okay, there it is. Report. It's so slow. Anyway, I'm sorry for this. Maybe I should just leave them. You know, this is life. This is... Or just delete. Sister, I don't want pictures of your hot sister. Not right now. But then if I go refresh, is it gonna go away? Ay, ay, ay. And delete all the comments. See? That's bad. Now the real comments are gone. Okay, we're gonna move on. Just technical problems that are so annoying, but we are doing the best we can. Again, we need more positivity, nourishment for the soul. And people used to use music. We all know Bob Dylan, Neil Young even, would use music, poetry as political tools, right? Bob Dylan maybe a bit more famously. And what happened, right? How many musical groups came out in support of freedom against the government? Not many. Though making a list, there are some. Kid Rock. Oh man. Oh, sorry. We'll go back to here. We'll go back to here. We'll go back to here. Even this is a problem. There's a problem. Come on. Say hi. Pink Floyd, Hey You is very relevant. Oh yeah, now we're gonna do some little intro. So this song is from The Wall, the album The Wall by Pink Floyd. And the lyrics are just chillingly relevant to the current moment. And so just carefully listen to the lyrics. And this is part of a new movement called Meaning Wave, where music is meant to, or you try to make music that has meaningful lyrics, more substance. Say hi to the webcam from the past. Okay, let's do this. Hey you, out there in the cold, getting lonely, getting old, can you feel me? Hey you, standing in the aisles with itchy feet and fitting smiles, can you feel me? Hey you, help them to bury the light. Don't give in without a fight. Hey you, out there on your own, sitting naked by the phone, would you touch me? Hey you, you're here against the wall, waiting for someone to call, how would you touch me? Hey you, would you help them to carry the stone? Open your heart, I'm coming on. It was only fantasy. The wall was too high, as you can see. No matter how he tried, he could not break free. And the worms ate into his brain. Which worms? The woke virus? The woke ideology mind virus? Hey you, out there on the road, always doing what you're told, can you help me? Hey you, out there beyond the wall, breaking bottles in the hall, can you help me? Hey you, don't tell me there's no hope at all. Together we stand, divided we fall. Do you hear that? Together we stand, divided we fall. But the entire song's lyrics is very relevant, and hopefully you enjoyed that. Don't tell me there's no hope at all. Again, the government's trying to divide us and to isolate us and to gaslight us. And so don't give in. Don't give in without a fight. You know, the government's just stranger people. You don't know them personally. They're just these strangers that don't know you. They don't know what's in your best interest. They're over there and they have tons of conflicts of interest, huge egos and other psychological problems. Why would you trust them over your own family members? That was probably one of the hardest parts, where my own family, they know that I've dedicated my life to being an intellectual, to being a careful thinker, a critical thinker, a skeptic, a scientist. They know that I've gotten paid to not just review the credibility of scientific evidence, but to propose new standards to bolster science and to strengthen science. And to have these people just immediately dismiss me as some wacko conspiracy theorist was just so crushing. And again, I'm willing to what's the olive branch? I'm willing to offer an olive branch and say, let's just hug it out, make amends, I will forgive you. And it's time for healing, social healing. Because we have nothing else other than ourselves. Okay, one more. Please let me know if there's any other requests for songs or any questions. I'm trying to... Oh, here's a good one. Tom Petty. I won't back down. And there's a cool video in Florida, I believe, at some football game with like 70,000 people, and this song was playing, and all of a sudden, it's almost like the crowd realized that this song had relevance to the current COVID restrictions and COVID tyranny. And so the whole... Maybe I'll just turn this thing off, given you can't really... I could try to adjust it, but it's too ambitious. So we're gonna stop that. Okay. Anyway, so it's like the whole, or enough people in the stadium realized the lyrics were relevant, and more people chimed in, and it was just super loud, and this really kind of collective consciousness of people potentially waking up. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground, and I won't back down. Well, I know what's right, and I got just one life. That's right. In a world who keeps on pushing me around, but I stand my ground, and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground, and I won't back down. there she is. There she is. There she be. There she was. And again, think about the lyrics. I won't back down no matter what. And I'm going to keep this world from dragging me, or avoid keeping the world from dragging you down. They're trying to drag you down with them. But stand your ground, stand your principles, and be principled. Have principles that you defend. And that's why, I've become less religious. Well, it's actually a more complicated story. But one interesting part about the COVID restrictions was that a lot of religious people actually stood their ground more than non-religious people, because religion gives you these anchors. And of course there's downsides to organized religion, but in terms of basic principles, it did seem to give those people more anchored grounds to say, no, I'm not listening to these unscientific, unjustified, unreasonable restrictions that I can't go to church, I can't visit my friends, I can't visit my dying grandma, right? Because they had those strong convictions. Whereas if you're religious-less, well, it's okay. Yeah, it's just another Easter, it's just another Thanksgiving. We can skip it. No big deal. And I can put my life on hold, and no big deal. Right. Okay. Yeah, I need to better describe. How would I change this? I'll put acoustic. Category. Let's put music. What is that? Live acoustic covers. Okay. Hopefully, trying to tweak my Twitch. Trying to tweak my Twitch to attract more viewers into the room by describing that we are playing music here. And feel free to request any song. I can't guarantee it, but I will try my best. Okay. But for now, this song is also very interesting by the Muse. And if you listen to the lyrics, it again seems yeah, and again one has to be careful with subjective words, or language is subjective. Of course, the same lyrics can be interpreted so many different ways, and so we want to be careful, but at the same time, it's very, very specific. And this is from 2008, I believe. Like, it's not even close to COVID period. All right, let's try. Let's try. And it's an ambitious song. The paranoia is in bloom. The PR transmission will resume. They'll try to push drug, keep us all dumbed down, and hope that we will never see the truth around. So come on! So relevant. Another promise, another scene, another package not to keep us trapped in greed, with all the green bells wrapped around our minds, and endless red tape to keep the truth confined. So come on! They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious. So come on! Interchanging mind control. Come let the revolution take its toll. If you could flick a switch and open your third eye, you see that we should never be afraid to die. So come on! Right here. Rise up and take the power back. It's time the fat cats had a heart attack. You know their time's coming to an end. We have to unify and watch the flag ascend. So come on! They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious. So come on! Solo! Hey! 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 They will not force us. They will stop degrading us. They will not control us. We will be victorious. So come on! Yeah! So this again, I mean the chorus is just so relevant. How would they think to write this in 2008? I mean, I guess they had the Occupy movement, they had the G8, G20 summits. There's always been a general, I mean, even in my undergrad, general anti-globalist, anti-corporate movement. Because through the 90s and early 2000s, we saw rapid wealth accumulation and concentration of wealth that had never been seen. So the people naturally thought, what are there any negative ramifications to these developments? So it could make sense that they saw it around how these larger and larger corporations, mega national, supranational, multinational corporations lobby the government to their advantage, and they don't really want a truth. Pharmaceutical companies hiding evidence of side effects from their bad medications and so on. So I mean, it's all the same, really. COVID is just a different manifestation of the same underlying problems. So hopefully you enjoy that. We will be doing a lot more music, and yeah, that should be fun. Should be fun. Okay, I need a quick break, but we'll be back. I'll can put the Emergencies Act. I don't know why it keeps changing. Let's see here.
Well, that's a good thing.
There's a HR, I'm not going to ask to put it up because we don't have time. HRF 183 is a video of February 1st on TikTok where you tell guys to stop honking and stop laying on the horns at 3 a.m. And the guys have stopped, which is nice. So you were asking guys not to lay on horns in the middle of the night.
I'd have to see the video again to see that. I don't recall that video. I'm not saying it's not there, but
or later that day.
It might have been in the evening, I would say. I remember, yeah. I remember doing a video. I've seen it in my evidence here last night where I showed the street in front of my hotel room with the trucks, and it was in the evening, and it was perfectly quiet.
You did put out a TikTok video on February 9th, though, did you not? Saying that if the police tried to come to a truck, they should, notwithstanding the
here you
injunction,
go.
they should pull on their horns, correct?
So in regards to that video there, in consultation with legal
Oh,
teams,
thanks
we were
for the
instructed
quote.
The bunk of your truck
Ian,
was
Yukon
considered
Ian.
a residence, and the police
It
needed
reads,
to have a
silent
warrant to breach
acquiescence
the
in the
residence
face
your
of
truck.
tyranny is no better than
And we were
outright
also
agreement.
Instructed
By
legal
CJ
counsel that
Redwine. I had not
in a
heard of that
case
one.
something
Thank you
like
very
that,
much. That's
what
highly
they
appreciated,
were telling me. I've
and
never been
indeed a
involved with something
great
like this before,
quote
so
that,
I have
that
no
reminds
idea
me
what
of
happens
another
when
great quote.
Police kettle, but on my understanding was if the police come
Something along the lines
and there
of
are mass arrests happening,
evil
we are
triumphs
allowed to try
when
to
good men
warn
do nothing.
the other
We can,
drivers. So yes, there
and
was a
we
video.
can modernize
It's
it
in
a
evidence, I
little
believe.
bit.
That's HRF 000217 for the record.
By
Mr.
Edmund
Barber,
Burke.
Mr.
The only
Wilson's
thing
come in,
necessary for the
and
triumph of
sorry, we're gonna hear
evil
from him tomorrow,
is
where
for
he
good
says
men
that,
to do nothing.
You were
Oh,
asking
falsely
truckers to
attributed to
implement
Edmund Burke.
quiet hours and to only honk between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Is that correct?
Apparently there was
Okay,
there
so
was some sort of a
either
deal
him
in the
or
first
J.S.
week or so.
Mill,
We
my
were
hero.
allowed to honk during the days,
We should talk more
apparently.
about
So, yeah,
J.S.
I'll try to
Mill,
play by the rules.
1850.
If
Classical
Deal with
liberalism,
whom?
because I'm always
I think with the
painted as
city.
some,
I was never
again,
involved with the
wacky
inner
conservative,
workings of
right
dealing
wing,
with the city other than
but
when
I'm
we did the
not.
truck
I'm
warrant
actually a
or the
classic
court injunction or
liberal.
something to that effect. There was a deal
Because
out there
J.S.
and
Mill,
I
even in
don't remember
1850,
exactly.
he
Well, I think we
espoused
might- I think we heard a little
individual
bit of
liberty,
evidence from Mr.
individual
Wilson and Mr.
sovereignty,
Chipiak. We're trying to
and
negotiate
the
this
elevation
and
of the
saying if
individual
truckers agreed to,
as a path forward,
not
including
oppose the
individual liberty for
renewal
women.
of
This
the
is
injunction and
1850.
only keep honking between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So they're trying to get a deal. like
So
that.
how
Possible. They
can
work behind the scenes relentless.
the
They
liberal
were
people are now
honestly godsends.
anti-liberal?
They
So
were
the
right there
liberal,
with us for help.
the illiberal
The
liberals.
truck horns were.
Whereas now, if
all
you're
day,
actually liberal, you're
even all
considered
day.
right
They
wing.
were
So
annoying.
think about
I
that.
remember
All right,
Sunday
we'll be right back.
in front of the stage, and we were trying to listen to the pastor do a sermon, and he couldn't. It was kind of like quit. But that was in front of Wellington, and that was, I believe, in the first week. So
Just the last couple questions, Mr. Barber. Have you ever met or communicated with Tyler Russell
I don't know that name.
or Derek Harrison?
I don't know that name either.
Have you ever met or communicated with Alex Vreend?
No.
And have you ever, you've already been asked about Mr. McKenzie.
If I had, like I said, my phone was extremely busy. There's a ton of numbers on that phone that if there would be no contact name with it, there might have been somebody contact me, but not to my knowledge, I should say, right?
I understand. All right, thank you, Mr. Barber. Those are all the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Champ.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Okay, next, call on the CCLA.
Good afternoon, Mr. Barber. I'm going to be asking you questions via Zoom. My name is Eva Krajewska, and I'm counsel to the Canadian Civil Liberties Association.
Pleased to meet you.
My questions are going to focus on the impact of the orders freezing the bank accounts. So I understand from your earlier evidence that your bank accounts were frozen during the course of or after the protest. Is that fair?
Yes, they were.
And can you just please specify for me, was it your personal account that was frozen?
So I've got three major accounts that were frozen. One was the corporate account. The other one was a joint bank account with my lovely wife. And the third was Toronto Dominion personal bank account. The personal bank account with Toronto Dominion was closed for roughly 3.5 months. I had no access to funds. The other two bank accounts were, they were closed for the weekend. A couple payments went back. I had one NSF charge, I believe, and the fuel cards got shut off for my drivers, so they weren't very happy.
Okay, and so let me just break that down. The fuel cards for your drivers, are those business credit cards?
In my line of business with the trucking company, we run card lock cards, with different fuel distributors, and I have agreements with those fuel companies to withdraw payments automatically out of my accounts every Sunday. So I'm up on current on my fuel bills.
And are those linked to your corporate account then?
Yes, they are.
And so when your corporate account was frozen, then the fuel cards were also inoperative?
Yes.
Okay, and you said that they were frozen on the Sunday. So is that, would that be the Sunday, the 20th of February?
20th. They would have been frozen on the 17th, I believe.
Okay.
My bank manager at CIBC explained to me that they were reopened on Monday. She wouldn't give me details. She'd explained to me that she'd got an email from RCMP saying it was an illegal freeze or something, and that they were reopened right away. But Toronto Dominion was a different story. Toronto Dominion was closed without any excuse. I tried desperately to get a hold of somebody from Toronto Dominion to explain to me why my accounts were frozen, and I yet to receive an explanation.
And so with respect to when your accounts were frozen, were they frozen before or after you were arrested?
I believe they were frozen on the day of. I wasn't really using a debit card. All the stores were closed downtown. So I believe the 17th is when they were frozen.
Right. And you were informed that they were frozen with respect to your corporate account, your CIBC corporate account. It was someone at CIBC who informed you that they were frozen?
I believe so. I don't think I knew that the corporate account was frozen until I didn't have a cell phone, so I couldn't check balances or anything until I got back home, I believe.
So it was only after the fact when you came home that you learned that it had been frozen by a letter from CIBC or by a telephone call?
That I can't recall. I don't remember if I got much correspondence. I'm personal friends with my banker at CIBC, so she may have sent me a text message. I didn't have a phone, so I can't recall.
And in your TD bank account, how did you learn, the personal one, how did you learn that that was frozen?
The debit card wouldn't work.
And you said that you tried to obtain information from TD as to why it was frozen and why it took so long to reopen?
Yes.
And you did not get, did you get a satisfactory answer?
No, I didn't. I was given a phone number and a first name. And when I called that number, I was just a short answer. I believe I spoke with him. He called me back once. I kind of made it a point to call him every week to question him on why.
Okay,
and, I never did get an answer back.
And was the first name and phone number that you received, it was someone from
So what's
TD
happening
Bank?
here?
It was, yeah, somebody in Ontario, I believe. His name was
And did you
Jay.
ever receive any correspondence from the RCMP or the OPS with respect to the freezing of your bank accounts?
I did not, no.
Okay. And can you speak to me first about the impact of the freezing of your corporate bank account? What impact did it have on your business? You mentioned the cancellation of the fuel cards. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, cancellation on my fuel cards. So I had to remake the payment. Fuel cards were shut off because of the lack of payment. There was an NSF charge. One that happened down the road a little ways. I applied for a loan and was going to put a significant amount of cash down, like money down on the loan for a deposit, and I was rejected from my financing company because of the account being frozen. Apparently, I don't know. They wouldn't really explain. They just said I was declined the loan, and I have a perfect credit rating. I've never been in trouble with credit. It's been years since I've been in trouble with a credit rating. 20 some plus years, I would say. So I stand good with the banks. That was a little tough.
With respect to the fuel cards, for how long were your drivers not able to use the fuel cards to supply the vehicles?
I would imagine it was a matter of a day or two. I was into the bank right away.
We'll pause this, answer a few more, or cover a few more topics. And, 4 viewers on YouTube. Welcome. Welcome. Again, do not hesitate to ask a question. Glad to see you here. And the focus today is, as the title implies, social movement, social healing, social communication. We need to help people discuss these issues so that people don't feel afraid to speak up and say, what's going on with the government? Is the government acting a little bit differently? Again, the governments have always been a bit narcissistic, greedy, biased, conflict-ridden. You know, that's kind of normal government problem, normal government incompetence. But this was the first time that they really encroached into every aspect of our private life. So this is, again, if you want to keep your head in the sand, like one of my very smart uncles, then that's your right. You fully have the full right to ignore democracy, to ignore politics. Because in a properly functioning democracy, that is the luxury. You can ignore it and still live your own life and live your life as you see fit and chase your dreams, right? But for the first time, we saw that we do not have that luxury, and they actually encroached in our private life in terms of telling us who we can have over at our house, who we can visit during the holidays. And that was never seen before, and therefore I really strongly encourage you to get your hand out of the sand, because this is going to affect you, and if you don't say, well, you know, I'm getting old and I don't care, well, think about your children and your grandchildren, right? So you can keep your head in the sand. Sure, this political stuff is toxic. I just admitted it even last week. I went through some rough patches because this stuff is even darker than I thought. And but by keeping your head in the sand is not going to help anyone. And I had another fan mail comment saying like, I don't have time to watch your live stream. I could barely have time to wipe my ass. And then sent like some silly meme saying like, I've done my research. I know about this tyrannical stuff. I'm not freaking out about it. Well, okay, fair enough. But if everyone just does nothing and doesn't try to wake people up and try to have just civilized discussion about this stuff, then it's only going to get worse. And it's like the frogs in the boiling pot. It's getting worse just very gradually, and they're carefully doing these things as to elicit the least possible resistance. And so if most people just selfishly keep their head in the sand, then we're going to wake up one day and it's going to be too late, and you're going to be boiled over like the frog in the pot. And but yeah, it's tough. It's tough either way. Any way you look at it, it's tough. But again, we need to come together as humans and say, does this make sense? Should we really trust? Is it really justified to trust the government given their track record and their just callous regard for our charter rights? Okay, how do I mark these? Interact. Topics. Okay, controlled opposition. This new damning evidence. I just want to play more music, but very quickly. Oh, it was yesterday. They're examining former chief Slowly, police chief of Ottawa, and they showed some text message exchange, and it's just shocking. It's just shocking. Let's play it. Hopefully it works.
Alex.
Oh no! It didn't work. I can find it. Here it is. That wasn't hard. Okay.
Are getting more coverage in the media. Into it, minister's office. So I'm. Okay. He's a name of Alexander Cohen. Are you?
Okay. So the context is the Freedom
message.
lawyer
All right.
is
So
cross-examining
what this is,
former chief Slowly of Ottawa Police, and they're talking about how there was some problem where technically, in terms of the Police Services Act, any municipal police, if they need help, they're supposed to go to the provincial police before going to the RCMP. And that's literally in the Police Services Act. And he's questioning him, saying, well, did you realize that you're not complying with the Police Services Act? And did anyone tell you that you were not complying with the Police Services Act? And then in that context, he's showing text messages between the higher level Prime Minister's office and other people.
This is a text message from a fellow by the name of Alexander Cohen. Are you familiar with him?
Doesn't ring a bell, sir.
Okay. He's with
PMO.
Minister Marciano's office, Minister of Public Safety, and it's between him and Mary Liz Power. Are you familiar with Mary Liz Power?
Again, the names aren't ringing a bell.
Okay. She's with the Prime Minister's office. So I'm just going to read that.
Our Burdage says it's easy, non-compliant.
This is from the 24th, on or before the 24th.
We'll get to that.
And it says,
Thank you for your comment.
People are into it. Let me know if your boss is too. Happy to help however I can. This is what I sent through, though, by the way. Hi, I just had a chat with Alex at PS, meaning public safety, who had a bit of an interesting idea. As you saw in the pod goals chat, the truckers convoy and some of their more extreme comments in brackets, i.e. calling for a January 6th style insurrection, close brackets, getting more coverage in the media. Alex was surveying whether there'd be interest in his boss doing some media on this eventually. He was chatting with Mediciano about it right before he went into the cabinet retreat. Now, I can tell you the cabinet retreat was on the 24th. That's how I know it was before the 24th. I think there could be an opportunity to get in on this growing narrative.
Look at the way they're talking. Oh, my Lord. I think there could be an opportunity to get in on the growing narrative. So they're even admitting this is a narrative. It's a false narrative.
Of the truckers, particularly
about some of their more extreme comments.
With the research that LRB is doing into their backers. My thoughts of
LRB.
the framing here would be similar to what PM/Blair, meaning the Prime Minister and Minister Blair, said last year when January 6th occurred. And the first thing is, our democracy is something we need to nurture and protect every day. Now, that text message then continues, and I'd ask Mr. Clark if you could bring up SSM.7201. I think I got the wrong numbers.
See, they have technical problems too. They have a whole team of people.
I think that's why it's...
So, 4.
All that organizers of these events are making are concerning peaceful protests. Some of the
here you go.
lines are going to be, and we will always support the right to peaceful protest. Some of the call that organizers of these events are making are concerning, and we're taking them seriously. In brackets, would need something to back this up. Close brackets. We'll continue to monitor the situation closely. The fine line to walk would be to ensure we are not looking like we're directing the police, which obviously is not the goal.
Oh my, there it is, right there. The fine line to walk would be to ensure we are not looking like we're directing the police, which obviously is not the goal here. Well, why would you say that if you're not, right?
Goal here. Hoping to canvass your thoughts. Alex said he'd come back to me with a proposal this afternoon. He gets to chat with Mediciano again, and obviously, pending his boss
and the worst line is coming right up.
Into this further. And if you could scroll down, and Alex responds, "Thanks. I had an initial chat with my boss. And he's supportive, but wants to wait a day or two. There's a danger that if we come down too hard, they might push out the crazies."
Oof, there it is. Look at that. There's a danger that if we come down too hard, they might push out the crazies. But why is pushing out the crazies a bad thing? See? So this is corroborates my theory or conjecture that they are focusing on the crazies, the small percentage of crazies in the Freedom Convoy, Freedom Group, to be able to tarnish the entire movement And this is damning evidence supporting that to control the opposition, you must lead it. You must manipulate the opposition to make sure that the real opposition, the real resistance movement does not flourish. Just disgusting.
And then the response.
Disgusting.
I think that's fair. Apparently Global and others are working on stories. Maybe see how those land.
Maybe see how those lands. Like, look how they are complicit with the media and the police. Whereas, in fact, the ruling party should be completely independent and firewalled from the freedom of the press and the police and the military. Oh, man. That is just disgusting. And we need to play a song because I'm going to lose my shit. Pardon my French. Oh. Yeah. It's just how low can you go? How dark can you get? But again, so to answer Arbor Dodge's comment, it's easy non-compliance. Well, yes and no. Chris Guy has been talking about united mass or united non-compliance, which I agree with as a principle, because again, our strongest asset is strength in numbers, right? Sorry. So here's the comment. It's easy non-compliance. Well, but the question is, how do you achieve united non-compliance? Because again, if it's only a few people, like we saw during the lockdowns, if it's only a few people, like less than, man, I remember being in Walmart in Ottawa, and literally I was the only maskless person out of 300 people. If it's only a fringe minority of people who are not complying, then it doesn't work. And how do you get more people to not comply? Social events, social movements, social healing. Because you're not going to get it from CBC, you're not going to get it from the mainstream media, excuse me, and you're also not going to get it from the alt media. Rebel News, they're giving you a few more pieces of information, but they're still totally biased and not real journalism. Because they are extreme, they are sensationalizing, and so they don't give you the confidence that they actually are on the right side of history. So to me, we need these social movements, and we're working on trying to develop templates to have social events to talk about these things, but do it in a very careful way so that I don't know if I mentioned last time. Remember the compliment sandwich? When you're giving feedback to people, you are often told, and they do this in university, where you start with a compliment, you give the negative feedback, and then you end with a compliment. So my idea is, okay, let's have a social party where you start with a party, like a normal potluck, music, dancing, live music. Then you have a brief hour and a half of, okay, let's talk about our democracy and how things seem to be going in the wrong direction. Have a Q&A, have a debate, and then go back to the party. End with some fun, right? So come up with some kind of template that can be scaled up and scaled out so that this can be happening all over Canada. And then we can get closer to getting enough people not complying. Does that make sense? And let me know if there's any follow-up. Because, yeah, I totally agree. United non-compliance is one of the best strategies. But how do you achieve that when most people are unaware, uninformed, uninterested, and or are on the fence, and they're even afraid to join the conversation because they don't want to be linked to these extreme yahoos like Hillier, Chris Sky, Pat King, right? And they're fearing their job, they're fearing retaliation, they're fearing, right? So there's a long way to get there, but I agree that's the direction we need to be going. All right, let's see if we play a couple more songs to lighten the mood here, because I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. I don't know how it feels. That's a good one. Okay, so what is that one? Blue eyes? Oh, bad. Behind blue eyes. Behind blue eyes. Oh, Limp Bizkit. I think this is the one. The Who. Yeah, that's good enough. Oh yeah, I changed the camera. So my vacuum cleaner, webcam. Let's see. No one knows what it's like to be the best. Oh, yeah, let's plug in here. Sorry about that. Added to the technical user errors. That's better. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. No one knows what it's like to be hated, yeah, to be faded, telling only lies. But my dreams, they aren't as empty as my conscience seems to be. I have hours, only lonely. That's wrong. My love is vengeance, that's never free. No one knows what it's like to feel these feelings like I do. I blame you. No one bites back as hard on their anger. Now my pain and wound and show through. But my dreams, they aren't as empty as my conscience seems to be. I have hours, only lonely. Oh, maybe it's B minor. Love is vengeance, that's never free. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. Yeah, and that just came to my consciousness here because that's how I felt. I'm trying to help people, and I'm the bad man. So I'm the bad man, trying to be the good man. I'm the bad man behind blue eyes, and I'm trying to feed people, and people are biting the hand that's feeding them, and no one really knows how it feels unless you've experienced it yourself. You're trying to help, and you're just being ignored and or worse, called names, called conspiracy theorist, called crazy man. But I've always kind of been like that. So, and with my science watchdog, science whistleblower work, that also got me used to that. So I'm a little bit more prepared, but it's still pretty hard. Okay, any requests? Any requests? Anyone out there? Is there anybody in there? Let's play that one. I think it's, isn't it Comfortably Numb? Comfortably Numb. Yeah, next time I'll prepare the tabs, because Ultimate Guitar, you gotta know which tab is which. Hello, is there anybody in there? Just not if you can hear me. Is there anyone at home? Faster auto scroll. Come on now. I hear you feeling down. I can hear your pain. Get you on your feet again. Relax. I need some information first. Just the basic facts. Can you show me where it hurts? There is no pain you are receiving. A distant ship on the horizon. You are only going through in waves. Your lips move, but I can't hear what you're saying. When I was a child, I had a fever. My hands felt just like two balloons. I've got that feeling once again. Can't explain, you will not understand. As in I've become comfortably numb to the government's lies. Okay, just a little pinprick. There'll be no more I. But you may feel a little sick from the poke. Can you stand up? I do believe it's working good. That'll keep you going to the show. Come on, it's time to go. There is no pain you are receiving. A distant ship smoke on the horizon. You're only going through waves. Your lips move, I can't hear what you're saying. When I was a child, I caught a fleeting glimpse out of the corner of my eye. I tried to look, but it was gone. I cannot put my finger on it now. The child is grown, the dream is gone. I've become comfortably sedated. Solo. I've become comfortably numb. Well, not bad. Hopefully it made sense. Yeah, is there anybody in there? And that's how I feel often when I'm talking to other people. And they just seem completely out of it. It's like they have no soul. They have no moral compass. They're just like, Like you mentioned things like, it appears the COVID vaccine is injuring young, healthy people, giving them myocarditis. And it's like, right? It's not like, oh, really? Holy Christ. What? We're going to permanently injure young kids to save a few grandmas? No, it's just, hello? Is there anybody in there? Like, not if you can hear me. Holy. What was the other one? There was all these other ones. During the lockdowns, they had these funerals where they had pushed the chairs so that people can physical distance between chairs at a funeral, and the wife, I think it was a bereaving wife, mourning the death of her husband, and then the sons were sitting beside her. She started crying. The sons moved their chair to console her, and then the funeral director came, knocked, and said, no, you gotta go back. And the sons complied, and it's disgusting. It's just really disgusting. And I shared that with several people, and most of them reacted, yes, that this is disgusting. But a few friends either didn't react or said, I don't think it's that wrong. The funeral can get a $100,000 fine. And I'm thinking, no, it doesn't matter. This is humanity. If you have a soul, then you need to defend humanity instead of just thinking about pardon my French, your job. Okay? Because a job doesn't matter if you don't have human rights, if you don't have your fundamental freedoms that give life meaning and that makes your life worth living. If you don't have those things, it doesn't matter about your business. It doesn't matter about your career. It doesn't matter about your paycheck. Okay, what am I doing? I think we need more songs. Oh, I didn't really prepare a longer list, but let's see. We need a little help from our friends. Yeah, that one's a bit more positive. By Joe Cocker. Well, I play the Joe Cocker version. In A. Yeah, that looks right. How are we doing? We got 2 people in Twitch. We got 2 people on YouTube. And a person on Twitter. Welcome in. Tell your friends if you find value in this. We need to rally the troops. And social movement. Social movement. Let me repeat myself. We need a social movement. A leaderless social movement. Because that's the other problem, that what they're trying to do with these manipulated opposition operations is to put people in prison and say, okay, if you want to organize anything against the government, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to be in prison. You're going to be in solitary confinement. Right? And, I'm not afraid of prison, but I don't really want to go there that much. So what you need to do is to start social movements that don't have leaders. You just have a basic recipe. Have social events. Have social events like you used to do. And just talk about anything and everything as civilized human beings with dignity and respect. Have social events, have potlucks, have music jams, and talk to your neighbors and say, does this really make sense? Where is our democracy heading? And it's leaderless. It doesn't need to have a leader. I don't need to be an organizer. This is just self-organizing. Right? And if everyone just organizes social events, then they can't they can't arrest the organizers because there are no organizers. We're just living our life, having social events, and speaking our minds, because that's human nature. Human nature is social. We are social animals. We are social creatures. And to make sure that you're not going crazy, you need to converse with others. Yeah, we will do a segment on what's the value of social interactions. Because even in Red Deer here, where the people are more awake, more communal, more neighborly, friendly, there still seems to be some inertia against social events and or even social interactions. But yet, and these people tell me, oh, I'm just so busy with work. I don't have time to meet for an hour over a coffee or a beer, but I have 2 hours a night to be on Facebook. Okay, so there's a problem there. If you have 2 hours to spend on Facebook, but you don't have an hour to talk face to face with your neighbor about crucial matters of our eroding democracy, well, what are your priorities, right? And so I started thinking, we need to better elucidate the value of social interactions. Why are social interactions even important, right? And I had this quote: without humility, social interactions become optional. Meaning, like, if you think you know everything and your life is going well according to your goals, then of course, again, you have the right to live your life as you see fit, and that's the beauty of a free and democratic country. But again, social interactions, social conversations is an opportunity for you to bounce your ideas onto someone else and then make sure you're not going crazy. So that's one value of social interactions, is you speak your mind and then you bounce your ideas off of someone else, and then you realize, maybe I am going a bit crazy. Maybe I need to challenge my beliefs. Like the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. He was a PhD in math. He was briefly a professor at an Ivy League university, and but never had any friends, never had a girlfriend, and eventually started having anti-technology sentiments and moved to a small cabin in the Montana forest and just literally went crazy. He didn't have friends that he was meeting to tell him, hey, some of your ideas are good, but you're trying to blow up planes and blow up owners of computer stores, that's not so good. Maybe we don't want to go there, right? Maybe get a girlfriend, maybe learn the ukulele, So it's a bit of a convoluted example, but there's a lot of value to social interactions and social connections. And again, we need to heal with everyone, especially our neighbors and people we excluded unfairly, and reconnect with a little help from our friends. Right strumming. I'm trying to get the auto scroll. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me, or turn off the stream? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by the little help from my friends. Oh, I get high the little help from my friends. Gonna try the little help from my friends. Ooh, what do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad 'cause you're on your own? No, I get by the little help from my friends. Ooh, I get high the little help from my friends. Ooh, I'm Could it be anybody? I want somebody to love. Oh, I get by the little help from my friends. Ooh, I get high the little help from my friends. I'm gonna try the little help from my friends. Would you believe in a love at first sight? Yes, I'm certain that it happens all the time. What do you see when you turn on the light? I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. Oh, I get by the little help from my friends. Oh, I get high the little help from my friends. Ooh, I'm gonna try the little help from my friends. Ooh, we'll just end it there. And it made me think of other valuable aspects of social interactions. Yes, you can rely on your friends. If you have some emergency, you can go to your neighbor and say, hey, we have a personal emergency. Can you take care of our son? Can you take care of this situation here? And so it's kind of a selflessness because it's reciprocal. So you get close to your neighbors and you can benefit from those close connections in the bi-directional ways. All right, what time is it? 11:15. Need another quick break, but let's go back to here. This is still wrong. Is that the one that we wanted to go? It is not. Let's see where it is. Na, 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 na. Oh, sorry. Where is it? Come on. Come on, everybody.
So I was able to get into the bank and make the payment right away. And fuel companies are good, but they get pretty nervous when a payment gets returned.
I'm sure everybody does. And sir, with respect to your personal bank account, you said that, how did that impact? Can you provide a little bit more elaboration on how it impacted you? You said that you had to use cash. What can you elaborate on what you mean by that, or how it impacted you to have your personal bank account frozen?
It changes everything you do. You don't realize how much you use the debit card in your pocket, I guess. I went back to, as any Canadian, apparently you keep a small stash of cash for emergencies, and that got used. I had to go back to cash for the time being.
Thank you, sir. Those are all my questions.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next, JCCF and Democracy Fund.
Democracy Fund.
Good afternoon, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Barber.
Afternoon.
My name is Antoine Dailly. I'm counsel to Citizens for Freedom, representing the peaceful protesters in Windsor.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Barber, you indicated that you led a convoy of trucks from out west to Ottawa and that you were a point of contact with local police forces along the way. Have you ever had any contact with the Windsor Police Service?
I don't believe so, no.
And you indicated that while you were traveling across the country, that one of your primary responsibilities was dealing with logistics, listening to the radio chatter. Do you ever recall receiving or responding to any requests for support from the demonstrators in Windsor, whether it's,
Okay, another quick break. I'll be back and wrap things up.
I don't believe so, no. It was a busy phone. Yeah, I may have missed something, but I don't remember or recall ever receiving any contact.
Perfect. And if you did receive this type of request, is this something that you would have brought up with your internal leadership team?
No, we were busy here enough. We weren't worried about Windsor, Coots, or anywhere else.
Perfect. And so the convoy that you were leading across the country to Ottawa, that did not pass through or anywhere near Windsor, Ontario. Is that correct?
It did not, no.
And were any of the road captains or other trucks that were part of your convoy, were any of them, to your knowledge, dispatched to Windsor?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Now, earlier this morning, you were showing a TikTok video where you're talking about let's hit them, presuming the federal government, where it hurts. And I'd like to obtain some clarity from you on that statement. So in this case, when you say let us hit them, us in this case, you're referring to the convoy and its supporters. Is that correct?
Yes, against the mandates.
And in terms of where it hurts, was one of those places you were referencing the Ambassador Bridge, or were you focused exclusively on attending a protest in Ottawa?
Exclusively attending the protest in Ottawa.
Perfect. And so, to the best of your knowledge, did any of the core organizers of the Freedom Convoy attempt to establish any kind of slow roll or any type of blockade in Windsor for the purposes of impeding border traffic?
No, not to my knowledge.
So is it then fair to say that from your perspective, blocking ports of entry or impeding traffic at any port of entry, whether that's in Windsor or in Sarnia, was not an objective of the convoy organizers?
Yeah, we had nothing to do with Windsor. That was, as far as I know, they had more issues at those border crossings from what I watched on social media lives. It wasn't the same thing as what we were doing here.
Okay. And when were you first made aware that the demonstration at the Ambassador Bridge had been cleared by police?
I don't recall when. I don't know the story there. I didn't pay enough. Like I said, it was so busy here, I didn't have time to pay attention to anywhere else.
Fair enough. Okay. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Appreciate your time.
And actually, that's another interesting or important point to point out is like how they're lumping the border protest, Coots border protests and the Windsor protests, lumping those in with the Freedom Convoy protests in Ottawa, even though they are separate events. But of course, the border blockades are more extreme, so that's why they want to link it to the Freedom Convoy, right? But to me, they should be treated separately. They're related, but separate.
Thank you very much.
Great. So, to putting yourself
very well.
Mr. Barber, how are you?
Very well.
For the record, Brendan Miller, appearing as counsel for the Freedom Corp, which is the entity that represents the protesters, including yourself, that were in Ottawa in January and February of 2022. Good morning. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Thank you very much.
Great. So, first question. If at any time during the protest and the demonstration, if the City of Ottawa or the Ottawa Police Service provided you, the truckers and the protesters, an order from a court saying that you had to leave or move your trucks out of downtown Ottawa, what would you have done?
A court order? I would assume we would have left, yes.
Yeah. And I understand we've had discussions and you've had discussions with legal counsel. You understand what invoking the Riot Act now means, do you not?
Approximately, yes.
Yeah. And so if a mayor, sheriff, or justice invoked the Riot Act and ordered that you and the protesters and the trucks left downtown Ottawa, what would you have done?
Instructed people to leave?
And it's fair to say, as Chief Slawley testified, at no time did any police officer or city official come and tell the protesters that they were illegally parked and illegally, unlawfully protesting and had to leave. Is that fair?
Not to my knowledge. At that point, my truck was out of the city. I had no equipment here.
Okay. So my friend asked you about the Memorandum of Understanding drafted by a Mr. James Browder and his Canada Unity organization. I have a few questions about that. So these
All
Canada
right.
Unity folks, to your knowledge, how many of them were in Ottawa?
Hard to say.
Okay, that's too boring. I think we need to finish this point, which Alberta Premier Daniel Smith, 2 follow-ups. Again, the context there is she's saying just things that are just sound too good to be true. Things that we all want to hear. She wants to pass new law making it illegal to discriminate based on COVID vaccination status. She wants she wants a separate police for Alberta. And now she's looking into providing amnesty for anyone who got COVID fines. She wants to retroactively pay healthcare workers who were fired for being COVID unvaccinated. But the question is, are these, again, just empty promises to pacify the opposition, pacify real resistance movement, or is she for real? And I'm concerned by several things. Again, where is she coming from? Is she independent enough from the elite class? And what about her ties to the World Economic Forum? And so the first point, we'll bring this up, that makes me a bit weary of Daniel Smith. Oh my. Is this story? This is from October 11th. And it says Premier Smith to replace Dr. Hinshaw with team of public health advisors. Replace. Okay, replace. That sounds, why would you replace? She would seek new advice on public health. I appreciate the work that Dr. Hinshaw was done, but I think that we are now in a new phase. We were talking about treating the coronavirus as endemic as we do influenza. Ah, yes. That sounds reasonable. I will be developing a new team of public health advisors. Okay, but and remember, Hinshaw was the top provincial doctor that implemented the vaccine mandate at AHS. So she calls that poor management. What? It's not poor management. This is Nuremberg Code violating medical ethics. So this is kind of the first red flag. Do you care about ethics principles, Miss Smith? Do you know about Nuremberg Code? Why are you that casual in saying, oh, I appreciate your good work there, Dr. Hinshaw, and I'm just going to hire some new people, not even going to fire you, not even going to look into investigations as to whether you violated medical ethics, violated informed consent, which is part of the criminal code, by the way. So that's a huge red flag. And again, this is the lesson. As a critical thinker, just because you hear something that you like, something that sounds good to you, doesn't mean you have to just accept it as true. You have to be skeptical. You have to look at what else could be going on. What are some alternative explanations for this good news, seemingly good news? So that was my first kind of red flag. This is way worse than a management problem, and Dr. Hinshaw should be investigated for potential crimes for violating the Criminal Code of Canada. And then the second red flag was that when she announced her new cabinet minister, she actually kept all of the same cabinet ministers that were there under Jason Kenney, except for one. And this includes Jason Copping in health, and Tyler Shandro in justice. Well, again, there's major Nuremberg Code violating justice issues, and you're going to keep those same people? Right? So again, this is, to me, if Danielle Smith was more principled, she'd actually look and see, okay, these people that worked under Kenny, they violated ethical principles, and they actually, what's the word? They went against Albertans. They violated Albertan culture. A mandatory COVID vaccines is probably the most un-Albertan thing you could have done under Jason Kenney. So I'm sorry, Jason Kenney and his entire team should be investigated, because he did the same thing that Danielle Smith is doing now. In, what was it, early 2021, when they started the COVID vaccine rollout, he was saying these positive sounding things too, like we will never consider a COVID vaccine mandate. 3 months later, we might need to consider mandatory COVID vaccines. And then 3 months later, unfortunately, we must implement mandatory COVID vaccines. Okay, so come on. This is disgusting. Empty promises with no teeth. We've seen this before. And I'm sorry, prove me wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to believe Danielle Smith is going to be our savior. Save us, please, save us from the tyrannical government in Ottawa. Yes, please, Danielle Smith. Please. Come on. Oh, and then last one that is another. Oh, the video is gone. Why? Oh, yeah. So this is Danielle Smith, who was asked about the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum. Danielle Smith on Danielle. The video is gone. I had a link on rejecting. Oh yeah, and Danielle Smith also, the other thing she was saying that was just sounding too good to be true was that she claimed on October 11th interview that the unvaccinated were the most discriminated group in Canada for a long time. She called COVID unvaccinated individuals as the most discriminated against group in her lifetime. Even more than like minorities or Black Canadians. But again, as a COVID unvaccinated person, that's what you want to hear. Oh man, why is this video missing? Anyway, so in the interview, rejecting WEF, what the distraction. What the distraction. Oh, so she said October 24th, she's canceling a health consulting agreement involving the World Economic Forum. Right, but if you listen to her words carefully, she was actually very, very careful with her words, and was more saying like she's against the World Economic Forum, bragging that they've penetrated the Canadian cabinet and other Western democracies, right? So she was saying, and in her defense, maybe it was kind of a mistake that she just didn't choose the best word, but the other possibility is that it's kind of a fake condemnation of the World Economic Forum, right? Because she is connected to them. And there you go. See, Premier Danielle Smith says she distrusts the World Economic Forum and to cut ties. So she's admitting that even Alberta has health consulting agreements with the World Economic Forum. And she doesn't want to have any ties with a group that brags about controlling governments and politicians. And she declined to answer if she believes in this conspiracy theory. Oh, man. Oh, and the other controversial thing is that she was telling cancer patients that they need to look at their environment for what's causing the cancers, and that we should consider naturopathic medicines, which are not proven. But I would agree that we do need to look more at what's causing cancers rather than just trying to treat it after the fact. Okay, here's the quote. I can't find the video, but here's the quote. I find it distasteful when billionaires brag about how much control they have over political leaders, Smith said at a news conference Monday after her new cabinet was sworn in. That is offensive. The people who should be directing government are the people who vote for them. Quite frankly, until that organization stops bragging about how much control they have over political leaders, I have no interest in being involved with them. There you go. So again, these politicians, their speech are prepared, they're edited, they're revised, they're re-edited. Come on. So the alternative explanation that this is just a poor choice of words seems pretty far-fetched. And so therefore, if you read that, it's not good. Quite frankly, until that organization stops bragging about how much control they have over political leaders, I have no interest in being involved with them. So that implies that there's nothing wrong with the organization. It's more that the bragging, she's against the bragging, right? But she's not against the organization and their goal to serve the interests of these billionaire globalists. So again, prove me wrong, but this is not good. And Danielle Smith, I will go on record saying she is manipulated opposition that's aimed to pacify real opposition, real organic resistance movement against this increasingly authoritarian government. And on record, I hope to be proven wrong, but I'm going on record, and I was not wrong about Jason Kenney making these pronouncements, these really grand pronouncements. But again, I wish I am wrong. And I'm even willing to make bets. That's something I did or tried to do, and I want to do more of it, because a lot of people, it's easy to just big talk, no action. Oh, yeah. But when you're forced to take a financial bet, you're forced to think a bit more clearly about what you truly believe and how much confidence you have in what you believe. And so as an example, in December 2020 or January 2021, when they were beginning the COVID vaccine rollout, I made a bet, $50 bet with one of my uncles, a different uncle, where he thought, they're going to roll out the COVID vaccine because that's what's going to get us out of this pandemic. And the bet was by September 2021, things will be back to normal because everyone will, or most people will have gotten their COVID vaccine, right? And that's what they promised was going to get us out of this pandemic. And I was skeptical. So we bet $50. And we know who was right. September 2021 comes around, and it's actually worse than my prediction. It's not just that society was not back to normal, it was getting worse, right? We lost other rights in terms of freedom of mobility and the direction, again, of going in the wrong direction, talking about other authoritarian flavored events. whether it's nitrogen restrictions and other gun control, freedom of speech problems, hate speech laws, new hate speech laws, new social media regulation, and on and on. So that's Daniel Smith. Pretty dire stuff. And the questions we have already answered. Why is controlled or manipulated opposition so dangerous? We mentioned that the reason is that it tarnishes, it paints a broad stroke into making the mainstream people think that only crazies care about freedom. And even that freedom, D-U-M-B. Like, how could it ever be dumb to care about human rights and fundamental freedoms for everyone? Again, by me fighting for my fundamental freedoms, I'm actually fighting for your freedoms as well. I'm fighting for everyone's freedoms, even people who disagree with me. Because you have the freedom to disagree with anyone in society, in a free democratic society, including the government, including anyone. And again, by having the vigorous debates, free marketplace of ideas, the collision of ideas, the ideas with merit survive scrutiny, the bad ideas are buried. There's no other better system, non-violent system. But if you can invent one, I'm all ears. But in general, history has shown us that the way to avoid bloody wars and cold wars and civil wars is to have civilized debates from people with different perspectives to get to the truth in civilized, respectful way that treats every human with dignity, just even if they disagree with you. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. Let's see. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in, and keep the questions coming. Thanks for everyone who chimed in. And, well, actually, we can maybe finish the two other questions. Sorry for the misinformation. Oh my God. So why is Doug Ford trying so hard to avoid testifying at the Emergency Act inquiry? So the background is, so on record, again, actually this is another great example. On record, look, show the video. Young Jamie, show the video. There's literally video footage saying after the Emergencies Act, so I don't know, post March 2022, Doug Ford said, yeah, if I'm called to testify at the Emergencies Act inquiry, I will. Fast forward 5 months later, he sends letters, a lawyer letter, saying that he cannot, because he was actually called. The judge or someone actually realized, no, we need Doug Ford to be there. And Doug Ford sent some lawyer letter saying it would be, what was the wording? There would be irreparable harm. There would be irreparable harm if he testifies at the Emergency Act inquiry. What? Irreparable harm to whom? To you? To your backdoor deals with Trudeau? So again, we don't know. No one seems to know. But we can only assume that the reason Doug Ford is trying so hard to avoid testifying at the Emergencies Act inquiry is that it would make the government look even worse. Kind of like what's coming out, where you see these machinations going on between the PMO, the Prime Minister's office, staffers, and looking at the media and looking at, this narrative here, the freedom extremists here, we can play with this narrative and make them look bad, and we don't want to appear like we're controlling the police. Like, it would look even worse if Doug Ford would testify. So again, they're not accountable, they're fleeing, evading justice, and it's not good. Finally, why can't we trust so-called independent fact checkers? Well, because that's not how truth works. That's not how we come to a real understanding of the world. These independent fact checkers on Facebook First of all, they're not independent. They're third-party agencies that work for Facebook, and the independent checkers, they're generally just writers. So there could be editors, writers that are good at just spinning information in a way that makes the original post look questionable, but it's not real scholarship. It's not real scrutiny. It's not real, again, collision of ideas and really, to get to the truth, you need very vigorous open inquiry into the facts. You can't just say, well, let's hire a company to try to discredit a post. It's so easy. And again, my experience in peer review, scientific peer review, it's so easy to debunk a scientific paper by just picking at some secondary problems. There's always problems in any scientific paper or data set or any opinion piece or article or government report. If you have enough time, you can spin something to make something look bad. But that's not real scholarship. That's not real journalism. Real scholarship, real journalism is to look at the facts from all perspectives and again, really look at what facts survive scrutiny and what facts do not survive scrutiny. And you need all perspectives. You can't have an agenda. You have to be completely committed to the pursuit of truth, and you have to be transparent about your biases and your conflicts of interest and your financial independence. So it's a very nuanced and messy game. There's no way to outsource fact checking to any company. And in fact, even if you came to me saying, "Oh no, we have a group of people with PhDs who are gonna tell us the truth and find, fact check," right? No, truth and the pursuit of truth is not about fact checking. And there's no automated way to get to facts. There's no way to mechanically automate the process of distinguishing fact from fiction or separating wheat from the chaff. It's a very messy, involved, pursuing the truth is a very messy, actively involved process that requires everything going well, and any slight biases here and there and censoring of perspectives will guarantee failure. So that answers that. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends and family if you find value. And also consider supporting us on Patreon and PayPal. There you go. The links are on the screen. And we'll see you next time. Oh, the other possibility also is to move to afternoons. Haven't decided that. Maybe even go down to once a week. But we'll see. Give us your feedback if you have any. All right, till next time. Bye-bye.